Good afternoon, fellow Plexers. Today's video will be a part one, or it might just be segments of videos joined together for one longer video on YouTube. But we will move a Plex install from my older Synology NAS as a package install under DSM-6 to a Docker install, and then I'll be able to upgrade that NAS to DSM-7 in a later video and show you that the Plex Docker container survives the DSM-7 update, unlike all the monkeying around you have to do if you're running Plex as a package from one DSM version to another. So basically, this support article is applicable when you're moving Plex from the same operating system to the same operating system. Windows to Windows, Mac to Mac, or Linux to Linux. And Linux runs on a lot of hardware. If you're running the Synology or QNAP NAS as a package install, that's a Linux install. If you want to move the Synology package to a Docker install on the Synology, or on Unraid, or with a Ubuntu install, that's still Linux to Linux. So in preparation, you do a few things. You start your old server and disable automatic scanning of the library and automatic emptying of the trash after a library scan. And then they want you to sign out of the Plex server on the destination system, which they have you pre-install but not open and configure. So unfortunately, I could not find that. So what I did instead with the other server that no longer appears is under General, I removed the server from my Plex account. It should accomplish the same thing. And in case you're not sure how to, wrong section. In case you're not sure how to turn off scanning automatically and turn off empty the trash automatically, this option, and this option, you would uncheck, save the changes, and I would then remove the server from your Plex account and then go to your hardware to shut it down. So that would be my Synology NAS. And let's just move this out of the way, get into Package Center, installed, and you'll see that this server is shut down because it has the run option. It's stopped. So then going back to our instructions, then you copy the server data from the source system to the destination system. So let's go back into DSM, and that's the process I'm waiting for now. So it says time remaining 10 hours, 22 hours. So most likely I'll be picking this tutorial up tomorrow and joining the videos together. But I can still show you what I've done. So this first Synology NAS and my original Plex server was my test bed. I did everything wrong I could do with this. I didn't have a nested folder structure. I used uppercase letters for folders. I didn't name my media correctly. So Plex is just all over the map on this. So we're actually moving a bad setup to a bad Docker setup. But it's just for demonstration purposes. I've since moved everything to a newer Synology NAS, and I use a nested setup, and things are just great on that. So my media was put into the Plex folder, which is a no-no, but it didn't hurt because I didn't actually put anything into the library folder where things are installed. So this is my main movie collection. This was my main TV show collections, and I don't remember what this is now. Some home movie clips. And then later on, as I expanded to an expansion box, I added a DX517 with more drives, set up as a second volume. And to make room, well, this is a little sluggish for whatever reason, with all that copying going on. To make room, I move some libraries over. So I can show that with a new file manager window. Go to my entire network, go to the old NAS. So this was my original Plex folder created when I installed the package. And then, let's see, here's my main movie and TV show library. And when space got short, I added the expansion unit with a new volume. And here's that volume. And I had other libraries that were on the original volume that got moved over here. Well, it looks like everything is going to be sluggish because of the big copy job I have going on. Which is unfortunate, but it is what it is. So what we'll do tomorrow when I pick this back up is I will start that new container up and I will repoint each library to the places it needs to go. I wish I could show you that now. But like my TV show library points to both volumes. Some shows are on the original volume and the newer shows were on the other volume. I had multiple movie libraries and I moved all but my main movie library to the other volume. So we'll just have to reconnect those libraries to their new locations. And it's not really a new location, but it'll be a new location based on the Docker mount points. So we'll have to get the Docker all set up. And I can show you that before I cut this video. So I use Portainer to get the new container going. And I gotta pause because this is a little disjointed. So that did finally open up. So these are some of the other libraries on the second partition. So basically what I had to do is I had to go into Plex and I had to right-click and copy the library folder. And then I had to move to my Docker folder and then go into Plex and right-click and paste. And what I did before that is I renamed the original library folder just library-pd. And hopefully if I refresh, maybe we'll see some of that in File Station being moved over. I know this is kind of disjointed. This is the first time doing it, and I can't be any more prepared than just figuring this out myself. But so now you see things partially copied into this folder. And this is the neat thing about Docker. If you want to spin up a new test server, you just have to stop the server, rename your folder, and then pull everything again to start it as if it's a fresh container, and Plex will rename the new one library, and you could actually move back and forth between 2 or 3 different test installs if you wanted, simply by renaming it what it's supposed to be. And it should just work out that way. Not that many people would want to do that, but it really is just a copy and paste of this folder under Linux, and then we'll go back to Portainer, and I have a video showing how I set this original Docker container up on the older NAS. If I go to stacks and I enter the Plex stack that's created and I hit the editor, this will show you my Docker compose, and the only thing I really have to change here when I rerun it is I have to manually map these paths. And I may not do it the same way. I may just lead a path to each Plex folder on each of the volumes, and then just go in and manually adjust the paths the first time I start Plex up. Because remember, it won't scan anything until I tell it to, and the emptying of the trash is disabled. So without scanning, I can't lose the custom collections and posters I already have and once the move server is reconnected to the right path, I can scan safely. So that's the plan anyway for tomorrow. And it's probably not going to be one of my easiest videos to understand, but it should get the point home. Let me show you another way. Say you were moving it to Unraid. Let me start up Unraid. So if you had an Unraid NUC like I do without a storage array and you were moving from the Synology to this, you'd have your Synology NAS mounted already with the unassigned devices. And this is a hyperlink. So this is my channels DVR folder on my NAS. This is my Plex folder on the NAS. And I know a lot of people would just use media. I called it Plex because there is no regular Plex package install on this NAS. And under DSM-7, this would be called Plex Media Server anyway. And then I have a few test files squirreled away that I have a Jellyfin container pointed to. And I won't even talk about Jellyfin. I don't like it. But if I click in here, I see everything on the NAS. So I can actually copy and paste from within Unraid. And if I was moving a server off this NAS over, I'd simply go to my cache pool. I have two SSDs, dissimilar SSDs, a SATA SSD and an NVMe SSD joined in a cache pool. And I think if I click here, I can browse into it. So I could have copied my Plex folder and gone into the app data and just pasted it in here. And you'll see I had a test Unraid server running for a while that pointed to all my media on the second Synology NAS, but it didn't have any custom collection set up. So these two servers were basically identical, and this is the one that had all my custom collections and all the extras set up on it. This was just pointed to the same media, and I tested this for 4 months. Well, when I moved that server over from Docker on the second NAS, I simply renamed this to Plex-Unraid, copied this folder over, and then I went into well, I didn't really go into it. I simply, well, yes, I already had it installed. So I went into it, I had it stopped, and then I edited it. And I simply changed these mount points to where they needed to go, and then made the adjustments the first time I started Plex up, and everything was hunky-dory. It was a very easy move from the Synology DS1520 as a Docker container into this Unraid install. So it should be just as easy once we are all done with the file copy procedure. So this is 39%. I've lost the window that told me the time that was left, but it's 4:29 my time. If this finishes late tonight, maybe I'll continue the video. If not, I'll continue it sometime tomorrow. And if it works, we'll have a guide for people to follow that shouldn't be too hard. Thanks for watching. Welcome back. So we're going to finish the process of moving the package install on Synology DSM 6.2 or 6 point something to a Docker container. And this way I'll be able to upgrade that NAS to DSM-7 without affecting this old Plex server. So the first thing I did after waiting for the library folder to copy from the Synology package install of Plex over to the Docker folder was check for the size. So this file ended up being 60 gigabytes in size. And as you can see, it contains 337,000 folders. And this is the generic small install that I already had running. Well, it wasn't running, but it was set to get set up. And that's much smaller in comparison. It'll take a little bit Okay, so that's only 329.4 megabits. So my old server was pretty big. My newest server is even bigger. So this is where we left off. To recap, you have to shut down your old server after turning off automatic scanning and automatic emptying the trash. And the instructions say to sign out of the server. I couldn't find that setting, so I instead of signing out, I unclaimed the server. And then you would have to install Plex in a Docker container. In one of my previous videos show how to do that. Plex says not to start it up, but it really doesn't matter if you're using a Synology NAS. It may matter under Windows or Mac. So now I've ended up with the new library folder, and I've got my old one, and I can rename to go back to that install anytime I want. So the next part is we have to link to folders once we start the server up, but I can't do that until I update some paths in Portainer. These paths were for the previous Plex server, and this won't give the container permission to see where my old media was on the package install. So we're going to adapt that. And I did a little prepping. Let me find it. So I think with all the different libraries I have scattered, that these paths, these 4 paths, will be all I need, and I need to get them in this format. And I always call this part like an alias. This is what will show in your Plex install. This is the real path, the true path, and this is the Docker path. But I like the word alias, whether it fits with everybody or not. And I like to create an alias that stands out like a sore thumb. So let me show you how to find these first of all. So you can do it right in disk file station. So if we get onto the Docker folder, and let me go to Plex 2. I had moved a lot of libraries over to the new partition on this NAS, and you'll see they're all just in this Plex 2 folder. Christmas fireplace videos, my kids' movie collection, my kids' TV show collection. So this one path will cover a lot. I can just right click on it and choose properties and just copy and paste it right here to then use later. So let's do that a few more times. If I only had a couple libraries and things were better organized, say I had a TV show and a movie library all in the same volume, and let's see, this was my movie library. I just right click that, choose properties, and I'd have one path in Docker leading right here. Well, I'm sorry, leading right here. And then I do the same for the TV show library. Just go to properties, and you can cut and copy that address. So that's pretty easy. So now let's make it work. So I want to turn these two into working volume instructions. So let's put a dash in front of all of them. And then we have to give an alias, and that's just going to be in this format. So I'm going to copy that, paste it in, and let's call this Plex Volume 1. And of course it's colon and RO for read only. So let me just grab that, and I'll move down, paste it in, and we'll call this Volume 2. So now I'll move down, paste it in, and I'll say Plex Volume, how about Plex Music Volume 2. And I have one small music collection, like a mixed music collection, that I don't share with everybody, and it's in one or two of these. I don't know which one it's in, but it's in one of these. So we'll add info here too, and let me just call this music. Let me figure this out first. Let me figure out what's what, so I can find it easily once we get the rest set up. So this would be in this folder. Nope, it would be in... So my media collection, music private collection, my media collection. All right, so this one would be, we'll call it music extra. Volume 1. So that's really all I have to do. And now I can, let's do it this way. I want to leave this someplace I can have access to it to switch things back. Let me just paste it in here. And then we don't need this example anymore. And I'll cut this and I'll paste it in place of this. All right. Let's do it this way so I keep the formatting the same. Well, I don't know how important it is, but I'm just going to use my extra spaces. So now I can get rid of those two original paths. All right, now I have something to work with, so I can paste this into Portainer. And let's leave it here in case I want to reference it later. Okay, so let's get rid of DSM for the time being and bring in Portainer. And everything else is going to stay the same. All right, so there's an error in my syntax. All right, Control Z backs everything up for me. Well, all right, let me do it this way. Again, I just do all this cold. Let's just paste those two lines in here. Let's just paste everything over one of them. Oh, that looks good. Oh, and maybe that was my issue. I only needed to get rid of, in the original one, this line. I didn't need to get rid of the config, so maybe that was my syntax here. But again, I'm just flying without a net. I like the looks of that. I'm going to update the stack, repull image and redeploy, and hit update. Deployment's in progress. We'll get out of here. We'll go to the container. Oh, hold on. How do I save? I don't use Portainer every day, so how do I save? All right, I'll be right back. Let me figure that out. And I'm back. I think I figured out what I missed. You might have caught it watching the earlier part, but look at this. When I update the stack and redeploy the image, because I was talking, I missed this. My Plex 2 does not exist on Volume 1. That's my mistake. So, I have to change this. And that should fix it, and this should save automatically now when I update the stack, now that I'm paying attention and not thinking what to say next. Alright, stack successfully deployed. So now if I go to my containers, that was automatically saved, and Plex is starting up. My mistake, I don't use Portainer too much, just to create something and then to update later on, but I never have to go back in and play with the previous stack again. And I'm dangerous because I know, or let's say I learned just what I need to know, and then that's all the knowledge I need. All right, so let's refresh this. Plex is running healthy, so we can put Portainer away. Well, I don't think I'm going to see this server. Oh, I do. It's right there. I do not have to go find it. So it reclaimed by itself. I didn't have to click the claim button. And we have to now fix our library paths. And let's go back to our guide. So for a Windows move to Windows or a Mac move to a Mac, you've got to move some other files, like the Windows registry and whatever this preference folder is on a Mac. For Linux, all the settings are included in the files we moved, and we just have to fix our folders and paths. So this is where we go in and edit the libraries. And you notice I'm not even reading this document too hard because I kind of know what I need to do. All right, so we're on this server. I can go down to libraries and I can start here. I have to edit the library and go to the folders. And this was the path to my old server. So I'm going to browse for new media, and let's make this windowed because I want to bring a cheat sheet in. Okay, I'm looking for my info. Let's get this right about here. So I am going to be looking for this. We changed this when we got stuck to volume 2, and it's called Plex volume 2. So I'm going to browse for media, Plex volume 2, and what am I looking for? Let's cancel that. My Broadway shows. Right there. So now all I have to do is delete the original path. So this is the new path, this is the old one, and I can hit Save Changes. So let's go in and see if we can start media just on that one library. Let's just scan the library. And let's go in here. Okay, so we're not seeing it. You do not want to empty trash. Let's scan the library, and it's not having access to it. All right, let's go make sure we did everything correct. Oh, I think you watched me screwed it up. Plex volume 2. My Broadway shows. Add. Plex volume 2. This is the one I have to remove. Save changes. Now we got a little bit different action going on now. Okay, now that library is scanning properly. So we'll let it finish and we'll test the same media. And then we'll go through all of these, and the repetition will help you on your own library when you have to do it. But I think we're already at the success point. We just have to continue on with this. All right, so it is scanning the files in the new location. And once it's done, I could empty the trash, and I will on this, so you can see how it's all working. And what I should do while that's working, I should turn off my generate intro and end credit markers so we're not slowed down by that. Let me just turn all this off, because this is a server that's going to get nuked anyway. All the media here had been moved over to my newer Synology NAS, and I renamed everything properly with FileBot, and I've only since added to it in, it's been over a year now. This Synology NAS is going to become an off-site backup unit once it's upgraded to DSM-7. All right, so let's do a couple more libraries while we're waiting for that to catch up. Let's do the concert library. All right, so that's on the second volume, My Concert Collection. And I hate these old folder names. All right. Plex Volume 2 is good. We'll keep that one. Save changes. We'll do the documentary film. We'll do all the movie libraries and see if we can view something on one of them. Okay, so this one's only on the second one. Plex Volume 2, documentary film. We'll get rid of this Volume 2 one. Save changes. Now my main movie library, I think, is across 2 volumes. So we'll do the Plex Volume 2, and then my movie collection 2, and then we'll do Plex Volume 1, my movie collection, and get rid of the correct 2. So it's the top 2 I want to get rid of. And this one will take a while to scan. Let me pause the video until this screen clears instead of just sitting here like a dummy trying to think of something to say. Okay, so we left off here, that cleared, and unfortunately I didn't think to turn off detecting credits early enough. So let's see if we can stop this library from scanning while we go on to adding the rest of the movie libraries. So edit the 4K one. Well, so my little Celeron processor in this NAS is working hard. Again, this is a big Plex server, so it's going to need time to process things. So why don't I let this run through, and then I'll come back and finish some other libraries, and we'll go from there. And I'm back. I didn't want to wait all night. I wanted to get on with a video, so I used Portainer to stop the server and start it again. So let's just rescan things. I have to go into the... Well, hold on. Can I manage it from here? I can do it. Let's scan that. So we'll rescan everything. And this won't detect credits this time. Actually, it is. Stick with me, folks. No rabbit holes. Alright, so this is my mistake. Never, never, and I don't think I saved my changes. So let's stop this again. You'll see my back and forth in action. All right, so that server's turned off. We'll start it again. It'll take a second to become active. All right, let's make sure all this stuff is still turned off. All right, everything's turned off. Now we'll go back to the library settings. And we'll try this a third time. All right, it's just scanning the library now. So let's scan all the easy ones. All right, we'll wait for a second. We'll wait until the Arts on Stage is done and it moves on to the concert to try to play something from Arts on Stage before we scan the big movie library and start connecting the rest of the libraries to the new paths. Almost done. All right, so it's starting to scan the concert library now. So I can only play a snippet of this to avoid a YouTube strike. And you'll see we have now reconnected to the media in this library, and it doesn't matter which one I try. This is just reconnected.
Sorry.
So that's a success. So let's go back in and reconnect the rest of the libraries. And this is now the boring part, but again, my repetition may help you. So let's get this one scanning. We won't bother about this one. Shared IMAX. Plex Volume 2. And see why I name these special. Things get confusing. And if I simply named it Volume 2, I had enough trouble distinguishing between the old path and the new path, even though I gave these a super long, more complicated name than what you might do. So that's the one I want to get rid of. We'll do the kids one next. My Kids Movie Collection on Volume 2. And take your time. Don't go as fast as I am. You saw how I screwed it up to start with. All right, so this is my mix one. Okay, so folder. And we want to go to the extra volume, private, and I think that'll do it. Okay. This one doesn't exist anymore, so I can delete it. And then the big music collection, I'm going to skip that. That's going to take forever to scan, but you'll get the gist with the rest of things connected. the rest of everything. And I'm going to skip these photo ones. Let's do one photo one. Let's do my youngest son and his wife's wedding photos. All right, so now things are bogging down. I think the optimizing the database is bogging things down by removing that one library. So tell you what doesn't bog down is my newest Plex server running on an Intel NUC, an 11th gen mobile processor with its wonderful and powerful Iris Xe graphics. It's a Tiger Lake chipset. This is a little rocket ship. Every Plex action that uses the CPU is twice as fast as the CPU in my DS1520, which is a little bit better Celeron processor than what's in this current DS1019 NAS we're working on. This is a great thing, and I was surprised how well Unraid worked out for me. Now, there's no storage besides this one flash drive masquerading as storage, but you can see for a 62 gigabyte flash drive, it's only using enough to call it storage. There's nothing that gets written to it. I do have two dissimilar SSDs, a SATA and a NVMe, joined together in one redundant cache pool. Two 500 gigabyte SSDs in one 500 gigabyte cache pool, and 500 gigabytes is too much for what I need. But when I was shopping for 250 gigabyte drives, the price was only maybe $3 to $8 cheaper than the larger drive, and I had a better selection to choose from. Just don't use a what brand is it? Can't think of the brand name, but don't use a CT500 or Corsair CT500 MX, or research any SATA Corsair drive. I like Corsair products, but there's a firmware issue in these that throw up a false reading as if the drive's failing that you then have to go and disable. And had I known, maybe I would have used a Western Digital SSD or something else. All right, so let's go see how we're doing. Wonderful little server. And this Synology container or the Synology package could just as well been moved over here too. Okay, so we're still doing the database. Let's see if I can get in here now. No, it's still unresponsive because of that database update. All right, so I'm going to pause the video one more time and pop back when I can keep working on these libraries. And I'm back. We can get in here now. Edit library, folders. So this was on volume 1 in the Plex folder under photos. So that's what I have to look for. All right, so it's Plex volume 1. And I screwed that up. Plex. Oh no, I never set a path to this. Well, maybe I set a path. Let me look again. Plex volume 1. I don't see a photo. So if this was the case, you could just stop the container, go back into Portainer, and add the path you needed. Let's see how I screwed this up. Oh, maybe that was a library that was never updated. Or maybe when I changed the new server, I just didn't worry about it. Maybe I just copied the full files over without worrying about the old library. So let's cancel the photo ones. They may not exist. Let's do my video DVD projects, and we'll call that the last one. All right, so this is in Volume 1 Plex Home Video Projects. And that doesn't exist either. I must have just moved those folders right to the new NAS when I was setting them up. But so that you got the gist of it. We are now down to the main movie library scanning. So if I went to any of these libraries and tried to start media up, it'll work. Well, you can hear the sound. Let's do one more. Let's try the documentary film library. Let's go into library and just click into something. So you'll see we're reconnected to our media, and you just got to give Plex time to scan. So this one's going to take a while. It's over halfway done, and it'll work its way down to our TV shows. Did I do those already? My half a brain can't tell. No, I haven't set the TV show library, so we'll do that on screen. So I've got 2 libraries, one on each volume. Volume 1, TV show collections. Plex Volume 2, TV show collections 2. And we get to remove these 2. Plex Volume 1, Plex Volume 2, save changes. Well, while we're waiting for that, let's go back and talk about this for a second. So I'll get back to my Docker. So now in the future, I just have to shut the Docker container down. And I can rename let's refresh this. And inside the Plex folder, I can rename this library PD and library, or I can actually have another folder and call it Plex-old if I wanted to, and just move this into it renamed as library. All I have to do is switch the names so that one will be seen, and then go back into Portainer and just keep a copy of my old Docker Compose and just change the volume information, and I can start that old server back up if I wanted to. It's really not that hard. Let's see if I can save changes on this now. Okay, so we've got one more to do, the kids' TV library. So this is spread across 2 volumes also. Let's back up here. Maybe it's not. Maybe I forgot to remove the original path. That's more like it. That's what I'm going to assume. Because that's not that big of a library to be across 2 different volumes. Okay, so this is the one I'm keeping. This is the one I forgot to remove a long time ago. And that was the original one. And we'll hit save. So this is really it. And I know this video is kind of half-assed because I had to work through it as I made the video. Again, I don't do anything unless it's cold or partially cold, because if I have to struggle to figure something out, hopefully it gives you confidence All right, so that could not be changed, and I think Plex is just doing too much right now. Me struggling with something and showing you how I get through it, hopefully gives you confidence that you don't have to get stuck either. And the minute you get stuck, you can start figuring things out for yourself. You don't really need much help besides a basic guide. Docker containers are pretty easy. And I'll post a link to my other video showing you how to set up a Docker container on a Synology NAS and how to set your paths, but this kind of shows it too. Well, I'll save this later. You get the gist of things. This just can't be doing too many things at once, so you may just want to let each library update and then come and fix the path for the next one. Thank you for watching, and reach out to the Plex Media Server Support Group if you have any trouble with the video. I'm easy to find there.